Hello and welcome to Women in Retail Talks. I'm Christina Stidham, Digital Content Manager at the Women in Retail Leadership Circle, and today I'm joined by Jessica Rolfe, co-founder and CEO of Lovevery, the award-winning Play Essentials company. Today we're talking about the extensive research that goes into each product sold at Lovevery, the subscription model behind the company's Play Kits, the brand's focus on sustainability and natural materials, and much more. So Jessica, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I think we'll be talking, a lot about Lovevery, but I wanted to start off with learning more about you and your background. I know you previously co-founded an organic kids food brand called Happy Family. So I'm wondering how that led to you founding Lovevery. So maybe you can touch on that as well as the few other things you've done in your career.
Yeah, so when we first started Happy Family, only 3% of all baby food consumed in this country was organic. And it just felt like there was room for a modern brand to really kind of meet parents' needs for wanting to give their children the best start in terms of nutrition. So now, after over a decade, Happy Family is the number one organic baby food company in the country, and over 37% of all baby food consumed is organic. So we really kind of inspired this movement. And personally, for me, I have three children. And when I had my first, I felt so confident about what I was feeding him. I was like, it's like sardines was like one of his first words. Like he was eating so much nutritious food. And I really kind of connected the dots between what was happening to him from a nutrition standpoint and his future development. I felt like I was really setting him off on the right path. But I had this like lingering question about what was going on with his developing brain. I remember we were playing with one of those flashing lights toys where my baby pulled himself up and he pushed one button and it was all of a sudden it was like lights were flashing and a purple cow was popping out and music starts playing. And I just found myself feeling disconnected from him. I was hoping for this moment of connection, and I also found myself wondering, like, what was this toy actually doing for him developmentally? And so it set me off on this journey. So I felt like so good about nutrition, but I really didn't know much about brain development. And so I discovered a doctoral thesis written by author Will Stasso, and he had written it decades ago, but so much of the research was intuitive and it like really felt like it gave me confidence. It was like a program of what I needed to do at each stage with my child as he was growing and how that would help his brain development. And so I kind of threw away all the toys that we had and started making my own toys and dreaming about what would it be like to create a new company, Lovevery, that's in service to children's development and parents helping them feel more confident about what they can do to help their children thrive.
That's amazing. Yeah. And it goes right into it. I think it makes so much sense how you had a son and then you were wondering how he's growing. So that's awesome that you took that initiative to then spread that research on to other parents who definitely, I'm sure, are curious as well. So speaking of the research, I'm wondering if you can talk a bit more about that extensive research that's built behind every product sold at the brand and how learning and mental development are essential to the toys.
Yeah, it's like when we think about kind of how toys have come to be, it's like you look at, we've got a lot of stuffed animals and the flashing lights toys that I was talking about. It's like if we really tune into what a child wants to learn at each stage and throw out the notions of what kind of what we think of as a toy and really ground that in what's happening with them cognitively and social emotional development and their physical development, we sort of strip away the assumptions. We can come up with like really unique products and information that can kind of pair together in an experience for a baby. And so we work with professionals from neuroscience. There's one of our experts studies neuroscience and how babies learn math. Another professional that we work with is an OT, which really understands like the physical development of the baby and how that connects to their mental development. Another we work with experts in speech therapy, speech pathology. We work with experts in Montessori and some of the philosophies like Waldorf, Montessori, the Rye method. There's a lot of methods and kind of how you might want to bring intention to parenting. And so we bring all this science together in a way that is really accessible and meaningful for parents. And for example, we have these two balls that come in one of our play kits. One of them, they look identical, and one of them is really heavy and one of them is really light. And one of them, you might guess, one might sink in the bath and the other floats in the bath. And so it's these kinds of things that become toys that are really more helping a child understand how the real world works, instead of kind of being sort of in a corner with a bunch of stuffed animals and like flashing light activities.
Yeah, they're understanding, shape, weight, gravity. They're learning all of these different things and how like they work within the world. So that's awesome. I know that when you were creating Lovevery, I can see on your website that you're offering a subscription model as well as select individual products. So the subscription model you have being sold as the play kits, and they follow along through child's development. So I'm wondering if you can talk more about why you chose that sort of model as be the way to go for the company.
So when my co-founder Rod Morris and I were starting to think about how could we deliver this sort of essential learning throughout the stages of childhood, the most natural way is to deliver it by subscription, because a baby is changing every minute. And as parents, it's really a struggle to keep up with their development. And so, unfolding the experience along with these developmental windows that are opening and closing is just the most natural way to do that. It so happens that subscription models were also taking off at the same time that we were working on this company. And so it kind of worked out really well because parents were familiar with the model, the subscription model, but it was also just so perfect in the way that we wanted to share the developmental information and the kind of stage-based learning program that we were developing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And Lovevery also places a huge focus on the quality of its products. And I also saw on your website that you're committed to carbon neutral shipping down the line, and you're very aware of minimizing your impact on the environment. So, can you talk about why sustainability is so important to the brand and how you're working towards achieving your goals of being responsible about climate change and using natural materials?
Yeah, it's just so essential for us to be thinking about the future that our children are going to be inheriting. I had this moment with Happy Family when we had developed this amazing kind of consumer products company with pouches and puffs containers and puffs and yogurt melts and all these different products that were consumables in packaged, they're packaged goods. And I had this moment where I was thinking like, oh, my children are going to be so proud of me. You want your children to be proud of your successes. And then I had this next thought and I was like, they're going to think that this was sort of like the old way of doing things. Like mom had this business that was all about disposable packaging, and sure, some of it is recyclable, some of it is not. But what is like, that's so kind of sad that she was a part of the old way of doing things. And
Mm.
so it inspired me to partner with a couple of other women from the natural products industry to create the Climate Collaborative for the natural products industry. So we have a group of 500 member companies now who are all oriented towards figuring out organic and natural food companies, figuring out what they can specifically do and what we can do as a collective to address climate change, because it's such a complicated issue. And so it really needs kind of a coordinated effort. And so that has been like sort of a deep passion of mine that my co-founder Rod and I both really, really believe in sustainability and believe in the importance of leaving the earth as best we can to the next generation. And so, of course, with the child development company, all of our wood is sustainably harvested. We would hate to think that anything we were doing was contributing to deforestation. So it's absolutely FSC certified. We've opted in for organic materials, so organic fabrics, which I don't know if we really get the true benefit from the customer in terms of an upsell. The cost is significantly higher, but it's a principle for us. We really want to offer organic cotton materials because of, again, the heavy pesticide load in non-organic cotton. And then, in terms of shipping, yes, we offset our shipping to the end customer. So from our warehouse to the end customer, we work with an organization called 3 Degrees, which has a program that where we are funding cook stoves, clean cook stoves in India, and families can then have a healthier environment for their children, have less health risks, but then also burn cleaner fuel that then contributes positively to climate. So I think it's like we're just getting started. There's so much more that we need to do, but this is a really kind of a deep passion for us in terms of how we want to show up as a company and how we want to show up as people and as parents.
Yeah, I love that. I love all those partnerships that you're working towards. And you're totally right that I think the younger generation is much more in tune with, how their products affect the world around them and what brands are thinking about being sustainable. And it makes so much sense as well that Lovevery is, the first toys that a child as it's growing is coming in contact with, and you don't want it to be a bunch of plastic and like, chipping paint. If they're eating or chewing on it. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's been so exciting because we pioneered some bio-based plastic alternatives with the factory. And I say pioneered, it's the first in that factory that is producing this material. And so it's really exciting because we're able to get them up to speed and hopefully offer bio-based alternatives to plastic to their other customers. So we're
Wow, that's really
excited about,
exciting.
yeah.
And just to change gears a little bit here, we have to talk about, unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're all still dealing with it. We thought maybe it was going to be going away by now, but we're still kind of deep in the throes as it turns out. So I'm wondering what changes you've had to make at Lovevery, to the business operations and whatnot during the health crisis.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously seen like a huge need for our products. Like my parents are looking for meaningful ways to engage with their children and also have, sort of like tech-free tools at their disposal to keep their babies and toddlers entertained. So we've seen a huge surge in our business in terms of, the popularity and the kind of craving great content and activities, information about like what to do with your baby. And so, what's been so challenging for us is that we also are parents and we have kids at home. And this whole notion of having to work at, work, quote, and work at home with children underfoot has really created a lot of, I guess, like really kind of like painful questions for us at Lovevery because we want to support the company and the company's growth, but we also don't want to just kind of ignore our children. And if we don't have solutions because of the pandemic, have them in school and have them in summer camps, it's just been really challenging. So for a period of time, for like maybe 2 or 3 months after kind of our work at home was announced and then schools shut down, we offered paid childcare for families who are comfortable having a one-on-one professional come in and take care of their children if they had young children. And then for older children who weren't kind of as needing of a babysitter, we didn't want them to be kind of on YouTube all day or, like on their devices. And so we offered a $30 a day stipend to buy Lego sets and arts and crafts materials and anything that a child would be interested in to help keep them engaged and kind of learning in more of a free form way. So we're really open to more ideas. We really need to try and like reinvent ourselves every day as a company and to try and address this crisis. But that was, sort of our initial kind of response.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you were thinking about the older children too, even though that's not where you're typically focused. But the $30 a day stipend is a really interesting idea. And I'm sure your employees love that because that's direct help to them. They can go out and definitely go use that for their kids.
Yeah, it was really fun to see some of the creations and things that children had made based on the stipend. So it was a fun thing.
So how does Lovevery reach new customers and keep current parents who are purchasing your products engaged with the brand? So I'm wondering what marketing channels are your strongest? Maybe it's email, social, and how you get them to, engage with the next subscription set as their child grows.
Yeah, so we are shifting, I think, from when we first started the company, we really felt like we needed to lean in on digital advertising, like on platforms like Instagram, Instagram, Facebook, um, primarily to try and drive awareness, brand awareness. And I think that we're now at this kind of tipping point where word of mouth and social engagement from peer to peer and the content that we're creating. We have weekly stage based emails. We're really trying to develop meaningful child development and offer meaningful child development information on our platforms, and that is taking hold and starting to create more of the organic buzz for the brand. So we're really kind of like in that, I think I would say like in the last like 6 months, we've really shifted from being kind of a paid to more organic. And so, essentially, like there's nothing more engaging and interesting than thinking about your child and their development. And so there's just like endless ways for us to create meaningful content that's really relevant for this moment in time that you are with your child. And so we're really working. We have a team of writers now, and we really obsess over what we're telling parents in terms of the content on social and on our weekly emails, as much as we obsess over the physical products.
Yeah, you have an educational platform that you're using to, teach parents what they should be thinking about as their child grows. So I love that. And then to kind of switch gears again, being here at Women in Retail Leadership Circle, we love asking, women who are leading companies if they've had any strong female mentors. So maybe a female leader who helped you during your career, maybe it's, your mom was a great example for you. So I'm wondering if you've had any strong female mentors during your career and who you most look up to today.
I've had so many strong female mentors, but I'm so glad you mentioned my mom. So, my mom was in the Mad Men kind of era of advertising, and she was an art director. So, unlike Peggy in Mad Men, who was a copywriter, my mom was an art director at a time when women just weren't in the field. And she was award winning and just like really exceptional and always very focused on herself as a career woman. She pivoted and created a nonprofit that has now been really touching a lot of people's lives. And she's moved on to be, sort of chair of that board, and then actually just retired. So I feel like I grew up with this like really strong kind of working mother mentor that was, just really powerful for me. And then I will say that along the way, there's a woman named Linda Resnick that is the founder of Palm Wonderful and creating the Wonderful brands. And she was assigned as an official mentor to me through the Aspen Institute. And she just believed in me. She really helped me to see that pivoting from being kind of a first-time entrepreneur to being more of a serial entrepreneur is surprisingly vulnerable. And she really helped me to see that my new kind of vision does have legs. She believed in me. She also is a very self-made woman, and so she does a lot of her kind of advertising and her customer insights research herself. And I think I was really inspired by that kind of grittiness and that sort of roll up your sleeves, do it yourself kind of mentality. So those are just two of many women that I've looked up to in my career.
I love that. That's awesome that you had such great role models to look up to and inspire you and help you move along further and further as you worked through your two companies now that you've co-founded. So as my last question, Jessica, can you share any details on what Lovevery has planned as we head into 2021 and your main goal as CEO?
Yeah, so I think that we just want to deepen our relationship with parents at Lovevery. And so I think we've just launched products for 2-year-olds. So we're so excited to cover the first 3 years of life. So we have infant products, 1-year-old products, and now products for 2-year-olds. So we really are responding to sort of demand from parents to continue to age up in our subscription experience. But I think for us, a lot of the vision is to just continue to deepen our relationship, whether that's like content or being more kind of engaging with our customers to hear what they want and then responding to those needs. We really feel like we're in conversation with our community, our Lovevery community. So that is the vision for 2021. I will say, I think that we really, so as far as my intention as CEO and my co-founder's intention, Brad's intention, we really want to bring a brand that brings inspiration and purpose to parents and that helps children from, I think a broad array of backgrounds. So the biggest aspiration for Lovevery is that it helps serve children from all backgrounds to reach their highest potential and just really creates, thriving families. And in so doing, we've got this platform that we can transform supply chains and really kind of work towards maximum kind of responsibility and sustainability.
That's great. I'm excited to see what you guys do. You have certainly a lot planned as we head into the next year. So that's unfortunately all the time we have today. Jessica, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Women in Retail Talks.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at womeninretail.com/podcast for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.